Rigging up some salmon rigs here for bobber fishing. Getting ready for king salmon season. It's right around the corner. I'm rigging up my lamb glass Kenai King Special with a bobber. It's got a peg in it. You can do a slip bobber too, but I'm only fishing like 4 or 5 feet deep, so I use it like that. That way, as it gets right down to the bottom, and I don't have to get the line to slip. Zero watching. That's par for the course. Can't see. There we go. Always wet your line when you're doing knots, especially with 30-pound. I'm running 30-pound floral P-line for my leader. And then I run 65-pound braid for my main. And I'm using like, I don't know, 4-foot leader. And I'm going to run a twitching jig. I'll show you how we set them up here. I'm going to run on the smaller ones because early in the season, it's mostly the 10 pounders, 12 pounders, 8 pounders. Not too many in the 20, 30 pounds that come in super early. So I'm going to run a little smaller twitching jig. Running these here, the VMC twitching jigs, different colors. I got like big ones like these. These are awesome for kings. Big black ones, big purple ones, some pink on them sometimes. Well, I got a couple ratty ones that need to be washed, get them looking nice again. It's got like a pink head on it. That's a good one too. And some of these with a little green on them and stuff. This one's pretty beat up. But yeah, we run these. And I'm just tying your basic knot. I know some guys use polymer knots and different knots. These freaking hooks are sharp. Holy ow, stop poking me. They're sharp as frick. Which is what you want. That's why I'm using the VMCs. They're good hooks. And then I'll show you how we top these with a little tail. We use the Mad River steelhead worms. I like these kind where they're black with the little pink tip, or the all pink. Since this is all mostly purple, I'm going to run a pink on here. And then yeah, we just tip these guys with a little pink one of these. Works good. Some guys were using just rubber skirts, like the little hoochie skirts in a little trailer, and then we tip them with a little piece of shrimp for smell. Basically, this is how she goes in the water. Like that. And yeah. So then we'll just tip the hook with just a little piece of shrimp, just a little for smell, and then we use different types of scents like krill. Krill works really good in Alaska. I would assume it worked good in Washington and Oregon too. I mean all this stuff. I know twitching jigs down there got a bad rap because people use them for snagging. And that's not cool. In Alaska, we're only allowed to snag in the salt water for sockeye and terminal runs, they call them, where they plant them right in the salt. This is my king rod. It's a Lamaglass Kenai King. This is I use the 12 to 30 pound for bobbers because if I use my 8 to 12 and I go to set the hook, it'll flex too much, and it's not. Those kings got hard mouths. You want to drive that freaking hook right home. So I use this super stiff. So as soon as I set that hook, it reacts. So basically, this is the rig. Got a bobber up here, 4-foot leader, and we drift this down at the fishing hole, and we tip this with a little shrimp. People don't understand that all the hatchery fish, they're fed like shrimp pellets. So the scent that's stuck in their head is that shrimpy smell. So shrimp work really good for king salmon. A lot of people don't know that. Down in Oregon, I used to use. How's it going, Mark? Mark Pro. Hey, fisherman. And yeah, sand shrimp work good. We don't have those in Alaska. Ghost shrimp, they don't live up here. It's too cold. I've thought about shipping them up here and trying them, but I don't know if you can do that live because we have laws because they don't probably want to be coming invasive or something. So, but yeah, 30-pound P line, different bobbers. I like these kind of bobbers too, and the little bit bigger size ones like these work good. You want something that can pull down really easy without feeling, but also can handle the weight. I mean, some of these are 3/4, half ounce to 3/4 ounce. So it's got to be able to handle the weight. The Mad River steelhead worms are my favorite for tipping jigs. And then the VMC jigs here. And I use a bead chain. You can use just a regular swivel, like your regular swivel. So I put my bobber on the main braid line instead of having it on my leader line, because if I break off, at least I save my bobber, and it saves it from floating down the river, and then you get, it's the biggest fish I ever caught. Well, it had to be king salmon that I caught in the Wilson River in Oregon. They got what's called a Christmas run, and it's the 5-6 salt fish that come in late. So after the October, November run, it all depends on the rains down there when the fish run, but they're supposed to come in September, October, but with the environment lately, I think they're coming in later, like almost November, into the Tillamook Bay, in this run, we were fishing mid-December, and there was pods of fish in the holes, and they were chrome bright, and every fish that I saw hooked that day was at least 45 pounds, and they were big, like big. I saw a guy had a 60-plus pound hen, and this was, 20 years ago, so I don't even know what's down there now. I haven't fished Tillamook Bay in probably 15 years, and haven't fished Oregon for salmon for that long. When I was down in Gold Beach 2 summers ago, the kings hadn't started running yet. It was like late July. But it was the Wilson River, 55 pound is what it was. So it was a nice big buck. I could open its mouth and put my head inside of its mouth. That's how big the king salmon was. So up here, my biggest in Alaska is only like 30 pounds or something. Last summer I caught a 26-pound, 6-ounce king salmon down at my local hole, and I actually caught that on a spinning glow. The best I caught was a small catfish. My brother fishes for a lot of catfishes down in Minnesota. He fishes the Mississippi and the Minnesota River for catfish, He's gotten some like 15-pound flatheads and stuff like that, maybe some 20, 30-pounders. But I like to use chain beads over. So I basically slide my bobber on my main line, which is 65-pound braid. Put my peg in it, or you can use a bobber stop. It's your choice. And then I tie a swivel, but I use chain swivels because when you're drifting in a current, your stuff will get twisted up. Like you'll lift your line out of the water, and your thing will just sit and spin. So to keep that from twisting so much, I use a chain bead like this, chain swivel, because it gives you more points of where it can untwist and stuff like that. So it's just better in my opinion. You know, most of the fish you're going to catch up here are 10 to 15 pounds, but you'll get some bigger, and you want to be ready when you do hook one of them bigger ones because they'll run your ass. So I always like to make sure that I'm prepared in case I catch a big one, because last year I caught a couple decent ones and then a bunch that were like 12 pounds, 10, 12, 14 pounds and stuff. And then I do bottom rigs. I think I showed you guys how I run a flatfish from shore. Basically on my main line, so my main 65-pound braid, I'll put a snap swivel at the end and snap like a six ounce weight, even up to 8 ounce. Something that's going to hold it on the bottom and not slide around and drag. So I do that, and then I put a bobber stop about a foot above it. You can move that bobber stop up or down depending on where you want your quick fish to sit in the water column. But the hole I'm fishing is maybe 6 feet deep, so I'm keeping it about a foot off the bottom. So it's right, and those kings are going to hug the bottom. So, because it's, the water's clear and shallow enough that they're going to hug the bottom just out of sight where you can't see them. And I'll put it about a foot up, and I put a bobber stop and then a big bead, and then I take a snap. Let me find one here. If I can find a snap. Never mind the striped pants, guys, but I know I got one over here somewhere. Lots of fishing stuff. Here's some other types, things that I use. So, rig number two for salmon at the local hole here is to work in Anchorage at Ship Creek. It'll work here. So you put a big weight on. I will make a video of me fishing this summer. I plan on doing all my lives down at the river, Mark. So I'll start off here in a couple weeks as soon as the ice is out. The ice is kind of not quite safe enough anymore to ice fish, so I can't really post any more ice fishing. But once the ice is out, I'll be catching trout off the dock for a few weeks until like the last week of May, first week of June, depending on whenever the water comes up, when it warms up enough. So for a plunking, like a quick fish like this, and we wrap the belly on these with a little sliver of shrimp or a piece of hooligan or herring, anything like that. And I'm running a chain, so the hook sits right back here, but just a single hook. And then I run a weight, and I said a bobber stop with a bead about a foot above, and I cast that out. So it's just the weight and a foot up. There's a bobber stop and a bead, a big enough bead that won't slide through this. So this is a snap, your snap. And then what I do is I have a snap on both ends, but the one end I have what's called like another one of those chain swivels. So this is the side I clip to the line. That way this will allow it to not twist. So I cast that out, get it set in a good spot on the bottom, 6 ounces of lead or so. And then I clip this to my line, and this end gets clipped to my quick fish. So this is clipped to the quick fish, And let's see, this is about a 4 or 5 foot leader to this and this. I clip this end to my line, and I throw this out downstream into the current. So this will catch the current and start diving down. It'll dig down, and it'll slide this down your line. And sometimes you lift your rod up to get as much line out of the water to kind of help slide it down. It'll work its way down once it hits the current. And once you get it down to where this hits the bead at about a foot, you'll see your rod start to go just a constant wobble from this wobbling. You'll know it's just as a tiny wobble. And you just plunk with it. You let it sit, and there's no like nibble. When they hit a quick fish like this, your whole rod will go wham, slam, and you freaking rocket that hook. Or if it's like a quick slap, wait till they really just wrench your rod down, because a lot of times they'll come up and slap it. They'll hit it with their head, sometimes their tail, whatever. They're trying to kill this thing. They think it's a freaking fish that's going to probably try to eat their eggs when they lay them in competition, and they're ornery. They're big-ass king salmon. So when they freaking yank your rod down and grab this, though, you set that hook, and most likely you're going to have one of the bigger fish on. It's usually the bigger ones that hit it. You might not get as many hits as you do on, say, like a spinning glow, like something like this. Like this is another rig that we use here. Plunk it on the bottom. Spinning glow, we use a double hook rig. A lot of times I'll put eggs on that top hook and the shrimp on this bottom one. Or I'll run a herring across both. But we'll use these things twirl in the water with the current. And you notice I bend my wings. So if it's slower current, I'll bend them to catch more water. If it's faster current, I'll flatten them out because they don't need as much water. They'll be spinning too fast. But these quick fish, man, this is my new favorite way to plunk for salmon from the bank, because you can run different sizes, colors. You can tip the bottoms with, quick fish or a flat fish, they call them. These are the this is a K13. You can run K15s. I don't know if you can see that very well, but that's a quick fish. Flatfish, they call them too. That's the same. It's basically the same lure. Make sure you always tune your freaking lures too. Check them and make sure they wobble and they don't spin. You want them to wobble back and forth. You don't want them to twist around. But yeah, flatfish is basically the same thing, but these are called K13X quick fish. So, but yeah, I have flatfish. I have quick fish. There's a couple brands. Brad's Baits makes the cool one. I like Brad's because they open up and you can put your scent and your bait inside of it and then clamp it shut. That's kind of cool. And the guys from Addicted Fishing use those. I like watching those guys a lot for salmon, because a lot of stuff that they use down there works up here. Here's another type of jig, a little smaller one. These work really good for silvers too, and jacks. Like if there's a lot of jacks the day you're fishing, which are the little kings, I'll just run it like this. Maybe tip it with a tiny piece of shrimp, and just run that like that with the Mad River worm on there, and that'll slay them too. Yeah, some you can put. Yep, Father Time, you're absolutely right. Brad's Baits makes them. I really like those ones. That you can put the scent. They use tuna down there. I don't know if tuna would work up here. I've never tried tuna, but I use eggs, Potskis eggs sometimes. I'll put those in a little bait sack, or I cure my own eggs. I have some in the freezer. I still have some shrimp too that are cured in my freezer. Robot wearing tie-dye. Nice. I got tie-dye on too today. Wearing my autumn Grateful Dead shirt.